Hi everyone, this is section number 10, and we're looking at Job 8. And it says, Then Bildad the Shuhite replied, How long will you say such things? Your words are a blustering wind. Does God pervert justice? Does the Almighty pervert what is right? When your children sinned against him, he gave them over to the penalty of their sin. But if you will seek God earnestly and plead with the Almighty, if you are pure and upright, even now he will rouse himself on your behalf and restore you to your prosperous state. Your beginnings will seem humble, so prosperous will your future be. Ask the former generation and find out what their ancestors learned. For we were born only yesterday and know nothing, and our days on earth are but a shadow. Will they not instruct you and tell you? Will they not bring forth words from their understanding? Can papyrus grow tall where there is no marsh? Can reeds thrive without water? While still growing and uncut, they wither more quickly than grass. Such is the destiny of all those who forget God. So perishes the hope of the godless. What they trust in is fragile. What they rely on is a spider's web. They lean on the web, but it gives way. They cling to it, but it does not hold. They are like a well-watered plant in the sunshine, spreading its roots over the garden. It entwines its roots around a pile of rocks and looks for a place among the stones. But when it is torn from its spot, that place disowns it and says, I never saw you. Surely its life withers away, and from the soil other plants grow. Surely God does not reject one who is blameless, or strengthen the hands of evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughter, and your lips with shouts of joy. Your enemies will be clothed in shame, and the tents of the wicked will be no more. So here we have another one of Job's friends, equally knowledgeable, and like Eliphaz, he really is of the mind that this is an open and shut situation here, and that the solution for Job, the way out for Job, is relatively straightforward, because the theological constructs and laws at work, if you will, have already been established and cannot be disregarded in this situation or any other for that matter. And so the first thing he says, and you might remember this from Eliphaz, is that God is a just God, and everything that he does is consistent with what is just. And you'll see in various places in the Old Testament where that's one of the attributes that people are most grateful for. The prophets, Isaiah, for example, and David talks a lot about that. How God is, this righteous judge. The person who determines right and wrong, and the person who sets things straight. So when we think about that and we apply that reality to this situation, it means that God was justified in doing what he did, um, and causing Job to experience this level of hardship. Well, why is that? Because, we saw in the very beginning that, Job was a good man, that he was unique, and that he was especially devout, and just good natured, and we'll see later in the text, in later chapters, that Job did a lot for the people around him, and so on the surface it doesn't seem as though God has any reason to inflict any injury upon Job. We don't know why he ultimately did what he did. We don't know. And we don't know what the grounds for that were, except that God can do whatever he wants to do. God has the sort of, because I said so advantage. And when we think about that, that sort of thwarts the conversation, and we could sort of, really end it there. God acts first and takes questions later, and that's kind of what he did here. But Bildad is saying that you must have done something. It's very simple. He wouldn't have done this had you not done something to provoke this sort of response. And so you need to come clean, and he'll handle it. Then he says that if you really if you are really as faultless as you claim to be, if you really didn't do anything, and you really are innocent, then the Lord will give back what he took from you. And that's exactly what he did. At the very end, Job receives, he has 10 more children, and then he has double what he started out with in terms of material wealth. And so it's interesting because Bildad correctly predicted what would happen. So that's pretty interesting. And then the other thing he says is that the people who walk away from God, the people who are really not invested in God and all that he would have them to do, then they won't last. And again, this is another example of these sort of implications, these sort of subtle and artful nudges that are coming from his friends, and they're really trying to express, in the most gentle and obscure, way possible, that Job may not be the kind of man that he thinks that he is, and that he may fall into this category of you know, people who who sin, people who were unfaithful in some way, who uh, worship idols or what have you. People who did a whole host of things that warranted uh, God to react. And so he's really trying to make Job rethink himself. But as we saw in the previous chapter, Job is pretty convinced that he's not really a bad person, and that he didn't do anything that would directly warrant this hardship, and he stands by that all throughout the text. So it's really interesting to see, this sort of back and forth, and we'll see Bildad speak again as well.